Hi, guys, and welcome to the Dead by Tomorrow podcast. My name is Daniel Winter, and my co host is Andrew Monroe. In each episode, Andrew and I will explore topics that you should think about before you die. We encourage you to remember that some tomorrow will be your last, so each day could be your final chance to really live.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the show. You have missed quite the start to this episode with technical difficulties out the wazoo, but Daniel and I have made it in, and we are here for your entertainment, pleasure, and learning abilities. Daniel, before we get started, I actually had a request to get more technical. So I don't know if you heard the same thing, but there's a good chance that somewhere in this episode we might get technical again. So bear with us. We listen what our listeners want and try and deliver. So Daniel, how's the day going? How's the challenge going? Have you been enjoying our Make That Money challenge?
Well, I haven't made any money, so I don't know if I can say I've enjoyed it. No, I have enjoyed it. It has been fun. It's caused me to check my phone a little bit more than I normally do, playing around with some of the option stuff. It's caused me to pay attention to more of the playoffs than I normally do, which I normally pay pretty good attention to the playoffs, but I've, watched a lot more of the games, and it's been interesting, but I can't say that I've turned any any profits yet. There were moments, just kind of like anytime I gamble at Vegas or whatever. If I could just walk away at my highest moments, I would always leave a winner, but I never do.
And yeah, that is the problem that I run into as well. Uh, it happens.
Yeah.
So
How's it been for you? What's like I'm most curious, like, have you actually watched a single basketball game that you've been betting on?
no, which is disappointing. I was hoping to get to watch some of them. For starters, why do the Mavs play so late? What's up with that? What is this 9 o'clock start time shenanigans?
They've played the Utah Jazz, who are in Mountain Time. They've played the Phoenix Suns, who are sort of like in Mountain Time, but they have a weird daylight savings sort of thing because Arizona doesn't do daylight savings. And then they are now
Okay.
playing Golden State Warriors, who are in San Francisco, so Pacific Time.
Well, I guess if I guess what am I trying to put here? Not only is their start times difficult for me, that has actually been difficult with this challenge in general. I was really, really hoping that this would be a heavy research intensive challenge where I kind of got to because I've got basics at least on options trading down pretty well. I was hoping to really get to dig in and learn some new stuff and get a little bit more research driven on this. And I'm just not. I'm not going to say I haven't had the time because we know how that goes, but it has been very, very difficult to carve out that time for the research that I was hoping to do with this challenge. So that has been disappointing. It's been fun. Just for anybody listening, if you want to make money, at least on sports betting, all you have to do is call me, ask me what I'm betting on, and then do the opposite of that. That's all it takes. Uh, really simple strategy. Daniel, I noticed that you started doing exactly that recently. Is that coincidental, or am I just that bad at choosing winners?
Oh, coincidental. I'm completely basing my bets on what I truly think is going to happen.
I gotcha. Well, we'll see what happens. I guess I was trying to bet with the bookies, I guess you could say, on at least the sports betting, and I've won one of my bets so far. I have won a single bet for the Mavs to beat the Suns. Um, Made some decent money because I went kind of big on that bet. Really, really wish the parlay bets I would have made for Luca would have hit for those. And this, I guess we'll just go into the technical real quick if you're cool with it. Uh, so first on the sports betting, you have your what we consider the basics. You can bet whether or not somebody wins or loses in a game. And then it gets a little bit more granular. You can bet who's a first quarter or second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. At least in basketball, and I assume football, you can do the same thing. And then it gets more granular, and basically everything you're betting on is based on what to me I assume is an arbitrary consensus on who is, maybe not arbitrary. They're obviously doing their own research, but there's some governing councils somewhere in the background in Vegas that sets the odds on who should win versus who shouldn't, and that's kind of how the bets are based off of. But you can get into the wild bets, which are like the side bets, the dumb things like you shouldn't do in Vegas. Uh, and there's like, you can pick like three or four different things and you have like really bad odds against them in terms of, you can bet $10 and you can make $100 or $150 or $200, whatever it is. So I made one of those parlay bets, Daniel, and I know you saw this because I sent you the Slack about it, but I was like 1 point. Luke, all he had to do was score like one more point in the Mavs versus Suns game, the only one that I've won, and I would have made like $500, which would have helped a lot, considering I am just down negative 75 on sports bet.
Yeah.
So,
Let's just, for the sake of kind of overview, for those jumping in, what this month Andrew and I did was took $100, and I think we originally said we were just going to do one thing, and then we got excited, and we're both basically playing around in options, both playing around in sports betting. The goal is to see who ends up with the most money by the end of the month. We both kind of have some individual goals. And so at the moment, just to kind of update on standing, so my options balance, like money that I could take out and walk away with at the moment, it's just about $60. So I'm down about 40 in the options. And then in the sports betting, at $83, so down a little bit there as well. I've been using Robinhood for options, been using Bovada for sports betting, and that's just kind of like the overall standing. So I wanted to share that, and then we can go into some of how we've gotten to where we're at. So what's your standing in those? What are the apps that you're using?
that is that's where we should have started, Daniel. I didn't even think about the platforms we were using. So in my case, I am $45 up on options. So I'm at $145. Uh, I'm negative 75 on the bets because I had to buy back in at an additional $100. So I'm not doing great. I did make 25 bucks. Uh, and then I'm also using Bovada because that's what Daniel's using. And I looked around and DraftKings came up a lot, but a lot of people recommend Bovada. And I tried to find something different just so I could do something different than what Daniel was and we'd be able to compare notes. But everybody on Reddit and everybody online was saying that Bovada was the one to go with. And I haven't had any problems with it. I'm sure if I was winning, maybe I would notice something where it's like, hey, I should have won that. But right now it's just I'm losing money. And so it doesn't really seem to matter what I'm using. um,
Yeah.
on the options, I'm using Robinhood as well. And it bugs me. I've tried really, really hard to get a different options platform for this bet. And I found one that seemed really cool. And then I found out I am not technical enough to hang with that. It's called Tastyworks. And it's scary to use. It's hard, man. I'll try and send some screenshots or a video or something in show notes. It's wild in there. I just have beef with Robinhood, but oh well. Real quick, because this was the main request. Do you want to give it a shot at explaining what we're talking about when we're talking about options? Because sports betting, besides the spread and everything like that, is pretty self-explanatory. Everybody's thought about making a bet on that kind of thing, and betting is generally a pretty easy to understand thing. But options trading scares a lot of people, and it's a little confusing. So do you want to try and give your own little rundown? And if not, I can hop in on.
Well, the thing to keep in mind with options, and when we're saying betting, I think you said betting. So if you didn't, you should, because we're treating it like a casino. You can there are a lot of ways that you can play with options that is actual real investment strategy, and you can actually, if you are disciplined and if you're also coming to the table with a fair amount of money, like there's a good chance that you can do good things with options. Andrew and I have not proven to have either of those things, discipline with money or a lot of money. Those kind of go hand in hand. So when we're when we're playing around with options, what Andrew and I typically are doing, and if you're doing anything else other than this, you can jump in afterwards. But we're kind of playing around with the most basic principle and options, which is buying calls or buying puts. And so what that means is um, one of the calls that I bought was Walmart. So I basically said I think Walmart is going to increase in their stock value, and so what I do is I can buy a call, and I don't even remember what Walmart stock was. I don't have it pulled up in front of me right now, but we're just gonna, for the sake of argument, say I'm buying a call for $50. Walmart right now is $40, and so I'm saying that I think Walmart is going to increase in value, and I'm buying a call that's going to expire at a certain date. And if Walmart actually ends up going above that value, then I stand to make a whole lot of money because I'm sort of setting a strike at $50, which means that if it actually ends up being $60, I theoretically have the right to buy 100 shares at this lower dollar value, which means I, would automatically make money. And so what Andrew and I are doing is we're not actually exercising these calls or these puts. We're not actually buying this $100 or 100 stocks whenever it's time to exercise that. We're selling it to somebody that actually wants to do that, and we're taking some money for it. And then the put is, it's just the opposite. It's saying, hey, I think Walmart's going to actually drop in value, so I can buy a put at, if I buy it at $40 and Walmart's, currently at $45, then it drops down to like 35 or something like that. Then I'm sort of locking in the ability to sell that stock at the higher price, at the price that I put in there for the put. And so that's kind of how you make money on that. And that's the basics. There's a lot that kind of goes into it with, if a lot of people are buying and selling, it makes it more volatile. So it means that the stock has to go up more for you to make money on your calls. It has to drop more for you to make money on your puts. And so it's not just like straight one-to-one, but that's basically what we're doing, is trying to sort of guess, and we could do some research and we kind of say, okay, well, I think that people are overreacting to all of the Elon Musk and Tesla and Twitter and all that sort of stuff. And like the stock price is dropping, so I'm going to buy a call because I think it's going to come back up and I think it's overreacting. You can make some money on that, or you could be dead wrong and you could just lose money. And that's the other thing that's important about options is so let's say I buy a call that expires on 5/26. So it expires this, coming Friday. Well, if that call doesn't get into the money, which means if the stock has not gone above whatever the price is that I put in there for the call, then that option just expires and it's worthless and you lose all of your money. So it's not like a stock where you can, even if the stock value just dips like crazy and you lose money, you can just hold on to the stock until it comes back up. Options have an expiration, and if they don't have value by the time it expires, you just lose out on that money. So that's why it's a little bit more like gambling than true stock. So that's my high level overview. There are plenty of articles and things like that can certainly better explain it. And there are also much better strategies than what we're describing. You can, we're buying these calls and these puts. You can actually be the person that sells them, which is kind of sort of like the inverse. You got to put up a lot more money in those situations. But selling, I think it's selling puts is actually can be a pretty decent strategy, because you end up where you can actually in the day holding some stock, even if you basically overpaid for it. If you're willing to hold it for a longer term of time, it's not quite as risky as we're just buying these naked calls and naked puts.
I've not heard them referred to as naked calls or puts before, but I like it. I'm going to tell everybody I'm doing is playing naked odds. No, that's a pretty good overview of it. It's you're basically making the difference per 100 pieces of stock, and you get kind of the difference in how much that stock moves around. Uh, there's a lot of money that can come and go, and it's definitely gambling. I won't even talk about how much money I've won, then lost a couple days later because I get cocky. Um, it's an embarrassingly high amount that would piss some people off. So it's pretty wild out there. If you if you have actual money, $25,000 to hit that day trader status that you can sit on, um, it's almost easy to make money playing options because you can do really really quick trades on an option on a stock that's going up, which unfortunately I'm not doing right now because I don't want to put $25,000 into a Robinhood account. And I figured Daniel's not doing the same thing because he's even more money conscious than I am, aka smarter. So we're both playing based within certain day trader rules that make it a little more difficult for your average everyday citizen. And on one hand, it's really good. It's good. There are certain lines in place that help people not hurt themselves too much. But at the same time, a lot of them seem kind of arbitrary. Like, uh, I mean, you can lose a chunk of money just because you don't have $25,000 in your account. Uh, it doesn't really mean anything. Like, you can still lose a significant amount of your net worth by playing every other day or whatever it is. So there's some predatory practices that go on, which Robinhood also does their own thing. We're not going to get into it, but yeah. So if you have any other questions on it, we are not the best people to ask, but our knowledge is free. So you can reach out and holler at us, and Daniel and I can try and give you some tips. We have much smarter friends than us who also do this kind of thing, so we can always point you in their direction. So just let us know. So, all of that said, Daniel, has there been any calls or any bets on the sports betting side that you have been like, man, either this really paid off and maybe you lost it down the road, or is there a certain favorite you've been going for? And to add on, because I like all the questions all at once, what is your remaining bit of the strategy going to do, and is it going to change in any way before the end of the challenge?
Yes, I think my biggest individual gain on options was I think it was Activision. It was like a 50 plus $50 sort of deal, and I needed it because I had done a call on Palantir and they sucked, and so I was in a spot where I was going to lose like 50 or 60 on a Palantir call. So Activision kind of saved me on that. I started out doing well with some calls. Walmart hit a good call. Walgreens did. Virgin Galactic did a put on Zillow. So I kind of jumped up. Made a quick $60 in the span of like a couple hours. And now I've just kind of been a little bit on the decline on the options side of things. So I've had some things that I've made a little bit of money, but right now I'm sitting on a AT&T put and a DraftKings put, and DraftKings just decided to keep climbing up and up and up, and so that's kind of frustrating. So I'm in a spot where I need neither of them are going to expire within the next week. I still have a week or two for things to come back down, and maybe I can come out and sort of salvage those. And then I'm also back with Activision again. I got another call there, and I got a Nikola call. And so I'm sort of sitting in a spot where I'm hopeful that if the market as a whole decides to sort of do a little bit of a rebound and bounce back, then these calls will hit and kind of help buoy me a little bit. Or if the market decides, you know what, we're going to take a big old turn back down and everything starts to drop again, then my puts hit and sort of save me. So I'm straddling a little bit, but then obviously I could be in a world where neither thing happens and it just sits where it is right now. And then I end the day with not a lot of money left in the options world, or it could go up, but Activision and Nikola could decide, yeah, we're not following the market trend. They could just hang out. Vice versa, market could go down. AT&T and DraftKings could be like, yeah, we're not following the market trend. We're going to sit where we're at or go up. So that's kind of the challenge in it. It's like so isolated that I need these specific groups to sort of make changes. But my rationale where I was at right now is that AT&T is just one of those, like, it doesn't move a whole ton. And so it's that one is something where I kind of feel like phones, like there's not anything big happening right now. We're still kind of in this world of trying to build out 5G infrastructure and all of that, but it's not like a big flashy thing that's going on. DraftKings, the reason why I tried to go for a put there is if we're really moving towards a recession, people tend to not bet as much money. They tend to hold on to their money a little bit more. But the problem is, like, even if that's true, it may not be reflecting quick enough in the short term. And then, Activision, that's one where video games just also they tend to, even when people don't have as much money, video games are such cheap entertainment. So as long as there are good games coming out, which Activision tends to release a lot of bangers, then as we move closer and closer to holiday season, and as things kind of get announced this summer, that can generate some buzz. Then Nikola had just been going down, 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 down. So I was hoping it was kind of reaching a spot where we see a little bit of rebound happening. So that's where I've been with
I like it.
options. Yeah. What have your strategies been, or what has some of your big hits been?
Well, I had 2 days of Roblox puts, I think, that just blew up. And that was pretty cool. I'm a little jealous of Activision because I think it's a great call. And this is where this is completely different than what I had been doing for a while. So we've been trying to do options for what, over a year now, 2 years. Um, it's been going on for a while. But there's this thing called Quiver Quantitative, I believe is the name. Quiver, something like that. And it had this 30-day trial period. I thought it would be great for this challenge. So I signed up for their free trial. And it's kind of cool because it's this really, really good tracking on uh, things as a whole. And so I'm in the back of my head, I've got this thing about Hive Mind AI where it's very accurate, greater than the whole terms of wisdom and knowledge, however you want to put it. Uh, I'll try and link to a study, not a study, a article where they had the Kentucky Derby a few years back, and they used this Hive Mind AI to determine what the Triple Crown was going to be. Basically, they made a $5 bet based on what this, or if they would have made a $5 bet based on what this Hive Mind came out with the results, they nailed it for one. They got it 100% correct, and it would have been like a $150,000 win. So there's other stuff like that. If you take 100 people and you put them in front of a giant jar of M&Ms or something, and you ask all 100 people to guess how many M&Ms are in the jar, almost every individual will get it wrong. But if you take the average of the entire group, it'll almost be exact almost every time. So that said, I went and hopped on a Quiver where it takes those kind of big numbers and either looks at politicians, the Senate, the House, Congress, and looks at the big players that have historically been very good at insider trading, playing on the stock market, and says what they're buying. So it has that. And then the one that's really interesting that I hadn't thought about before, but that they do, is they actually track Twitter and how many followers a company is either gaining or losing. And then based on that, you say, hey, I'm going to short this company, or I'm going to play, I guess it's shorting either way, but you're going to play a call because they gained a bunch of followers, or you're going to play a put because they lost a bunch of followers. And they show the tracking for how well each of these strategies, quote unquote, are doing. And the two Twitter strategies are like 80% up for the year. And even like the Congress people with their insider trading are at, some of them are in the negative for the year. Most of them are like 20% above, which is just unheard of for even like a, hedge fund, but whatever. I'm not getting into that. So I'm just following Quiver is the short answer. After all that rant, I am following Quiver Initiative or Quiver Quantitative, whatever they're called. And I'm trying to, whenever I'm going to go make a trade, I say, okay, what is the Twitter momentum is just saying, okay, I'm going to make a call. Oh, the market looks down. Let's do a put. And it's worked out to an extent. I don't know. I'm still positive on options. So I guess there's that. If I was either more risky or less risky, it would maybe pay off better. But that's what I'm doing on the options. That's where a lot of my focus has been in terms of uh, sports betting. Not a lot has changed. I have no idea what I'm doing there. Uh, so I'm betting on basketball. I think the French Open just started, so I might do some tennis betting and see if I can, regain some of the investment that was 15 years of my life or 10 years of my life there playing tennis, and maybe gain something out of that. But I don't know. I'm enjoying betting on the basketball games, but I'm basically just going off of which player I know the most about, which is going to either be Luca or Steph Curry, and it's because both of them talk about working out and men's health. And so that's my betting strategy: is which team has the strongest, most popular player.
So in the sports betting, I was looking at my bets, and I'm an even 50-50 on my predictions on teams that win. And so far, I've just done, betting the spread where, I'm picking a team to win. And the way that a spread works is, if the Mavericks are supposed to beat the Warriors, then they are like a negative, if they're supposed to win by 5, they're like a -5, and the Warriors are a +5. And it basically
Mm-hmm.
gives the Mavs, a little handicap to where they're starting kind of behind 5 points. So if they win by more than 5, then you win that bet. If they win by less, then you actually end up still losing that bet. So that's what I've been doing, and I'm right 50-50 in terms of my accuracy, which if I hadn't placed any of my bets, I'm actually sitting pretty even money at the moment. But I've got a couple outstanding bets on today's game. So what does your win percentage look like?
Uh, so I actually just checked Bovada because I was like, oh, I bet on the Heat versus the Celtics last night. I have now won two out of 12, 13 uh, of bets. So I am like not doing great. I can't do that percentage in my head. Um, but I also checked my Celtics again, and horseshoes and hand grenades, I understand. It doesn't matter, I guess. But I was a singular point away again. I did a parlay bet on the Heats versus the Celtics on Jimmy Butler because I kind of recognized the name. And I was like, this is the most reasonable parlay bet that wasn't, some of them are just crazy. And so I was like, I'm going to bet $10 on Jimmy Butler getting 40 points, the Heat beating the Celtics, and something else. I can't even remember what the third thing was in the parlay, but it was pretty generic. He got 39 points instead of 40, and everything else hit. And so on these parlay bets, all 3 or 4 or 5 parameters have to be met for you to win the bet, which is why the odds are so ridiculous, because it's like what you're talking about. I'm getting like a plus 1,100 or plus 2,000 thing to it, which means for every $5, I'm going to get basically $500 or something. I'm not sure exactly. Luckily, they have a calculator that tells me what I do whenever I do it. So, first Luca and now Jimmy only had to score like one single extra point, and my parlay bet would have paid off to that I have won, and I'd be up. I would be well beyond that $1,000 mark that we talked about at the beginning, which really bugs me because like a single point in basketball is not crazy,
Oh
right?
no, not at all.
Two different guys, everything else hit. They just had to make one free throw, and yeah, missed it. So
But to be
Butler
fair,
got
it's
39.
it's a big deal to score 40 points in a playoff game. So the fact that he got that close is already like that's a pretty big deal. And I mean, it happens, right? Like it
Mm-hmm.
definitely does, but it's not going to be something that happens with any regularity. Luca's averaging like 30 something points a game, and that's
Mm-hmm.
crazy high.
Well, so I've got a parlay for Luca for tomorrow's game.
Tonight's
I
game?
need him to get. The 22nd.
That's today.
Oh, tonight. Today is the 22nd. Hey guys, y'all you'll get to hear the results next episode, but I've got a $5 parlay. This is a perfect example. I've got a $5 parlay for Luca to score 35 or more points against Golden State Warriors. He'll have 10 or more assists, and he'll have 13 or more total rebounds. And the
Oh
rebounds is what
my
really freaks me
gosh,
out.
Andrew.
Yeah.
That is,
uh,
if that happens, ooh, that is like a historically great game. I mean, maybe not historically great. Luka does that stuff, but that's a
mhm.
huge deal.
Well, so on the last parlay I made, it was like 7 rebounds and 8 assists, but it was 40 points. He got 39 points, I think. He had like half the rebounds he needed, and then he hit the assists. Um, so that one I totally missed out on. But for example of how this works, these parlay bets. So like Daniel said, that's a dumb bet, honestly. But it's $5. I put $5 on, but if it hits, I make $110. So I am not risk averse. And so something like that where I can have such a good payoff when I'm betting for the Mavs to win, I like going off that. And so far it hasn't hit, but if I get one of these to hit, that will hopefully bring me to the higher point. And this is why I lose in Vegas as well. As I make these rationales all the time, and then I walk away with no money. So, so that's my strategy. I'm playing. I'm not really doing anything crazy. I'm sorry. I'm not doing anything crazy on the guys like Mavs versus the Warriors or whatever's going on there. I'm going I'm spending probably $15 on little side bets that each have 1,300 or so odds, um, in the hope that one or two hit and I get 400, 500, $600. So far, I've had two that were 1 point away, which really sucked, but it's really not working out for me. So I'm bleeding myself dry on the side bets, honestly. So I would not recommend that strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. I for the first game am not just betting on the winner of the game. I'm betting that Reggie Bullock will score, I think he has to hit 5 threes, and then I'll win that bet. So that's my first venture into a player specific bet.
What were the odds on it? Do you happen to know? Like, what's your
No.
turnaround?
I mean, it's like fairly high odds it'll happen. I'm betting $5 I'll win like 350.
All right. Fingers crossed then.
We are going to wrap that up here. So, to be seen if Andrew or I are actually able to make that money. I think the standing at the moment is that Andrew is doing okay in the options world and has had to buy back in the sports betting world. So, we haven't crunched our numbers to see the net amount. And then I'm kind of in a world where I'm hanging on to options. It doesn't look great. I'm doing okay with the sports bets, but neither of us are millionaires yet. So we hope that you've enjoyed hearing a little bit about just these two different worlds. And at the end of the day, it's been fun. It's been relatively cheap entertainment that's lasted us for at this point almost 20 days worth of just kind of interesting little moments, interesting little conversation. So if nothing else, we're doing it for the memories. But we appreciate you guys coming by. If you want to hear about anything more specific in the episodes, like Andrew mentioned this time around, hearing more of the technical side and options, hit us up. Let us know if you're all in and you're betting the house on the Warriors, the Mavs, Celtics, Heat, whatever it is, and you kind of want to talk to any of the sports bets. If you got any hot takes there, let us know as well. We'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, we'll be back here in a couple weeks to let you know the end results and to let you know what our next month's challenge is. As always, we appreciate you coming by.